A lot has been mentioned about Nvidia more recently, especially when we talk about Blackwell, the next big thing for Nvidia. Apparently, these might be delayed. By how much? We don't know, and we don't even know if it's completely true. But since various news outlets and reports have come out, then yes, maybe that might be true. But we're also going to have to go back to the Q1 earnings call, an analyst conference, and listen or read in this case what Jensen and Nvidia management have said about the Blackwell production and release. Also, we'll talk about the H200 because although all the focus right now is on that next big thing, Blackwell, H200 is yet to become a huge part of the business, right? Supply demand. There's huge demand, not enough supply as of, well, the last time that they spoke about it. Now, Nvidia itself, the stock, did come down close to 20% in the last month or so. You might be one of the few lucky ones that did pick up shares under $100. You might also be lucky if at the end of August, yes, they do confirm that there are delays, that it might impact margins or revenue growth in the short run, then probably, yes, the market will take this as a negative and the stock might drop. Why is that? One, it's up quite a lot this year already, 105%, but that's not an excuse. Lots of stocks can be up a lot if the business is performing well, then the stock should go up. Well, unless you're someone like PayPal or SoFi, then even in good performances, you're not getting rewarded. But coming back to Nvidia here, 34.4 times forward PE, EV to sales next 12 months 18.8. Not the cheapest out there. But if you look what the market is expecting, still year-over-year growth for sales close to 100%, over 100% EPS growth. And then for the next fiscal year, still 37-38% year-over-year growth, top and bottom line. And if we're talking about dominance, I don't think Nvidia will lose its dominance anytime soon. In the future, yes, maybe you will say, okay, 24, 25, that was peak market share for Nvidia. That's fine. But it's not to say that Nvidia will not grow. Plus, when we talk about Nvidia, of course, everything is about data centers right now. But don't forget that they become bigger and bigger when we talk about software as well. So take all of that into consideration. And by the way, all in all, if we compare the current valuation metrics to the 5-year mean, forward PE is cheaper today. EV to EBITDA, cheaper today. Price to sales, a bit more expensive. Price to free cash flow, that's in the last 12 months metric, so probably in the next quarter or two, it's probably going to be much cheaper as well. Then price earnings to growth still beneath 1, which usually means it is cheap. But of course, if there are delays, if it does impact the next quarter or two, then the price earnings to growth will probably go up a bit. But even if it's 1.2, 1.3, that is really not that expensive, all things considered. So let's have a look at everything that's gone on with Nvidia now and in the last 3 months. If you enjoyed this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if not, we really appreciate that. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment with the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. I'll of course have to start with this little meme that I showed you I think yesterday or 2 days ago. So the state of LLM models, you've got the recent 100-meter sprints where Noah Lyles basically won by a hair, I think 0.005 of seconds or something like that. And then you've got the state of the GPU market, which of course Usain Bolt here is Nvidia, and then you've got all the rest. What does this mean? LLM models, you've got plenty of those, but what's the difference? Not much. GPUs, the difference right now is quite big. So if we go and look at what Nvidia told us 3 months ago, talking about Nvidia Blackwell and wave of data center scale platform power the trillion parameter AI era, they said a couple of things here. 1. Nvidia Blackwell enables real-time generative AI on trillion parameter large language models at up to 25 times lower TCO and energy consumption than its predecessor. Blackwell delivers up to 4 times faster training and 30 times faster inference than the H100. So although the H100, also H200, but especially H100, it's not so old, the improvements here are quite huge, so you can understand the demand for Blackwell. This year, the Nvidia B200 GPU is the world's most powerful chip. Then they end by saying that Blackwell products will be available starting later 2024. We also know that for the data center, they said that supply for H100 continued to improve, so there is quite a big backlog there, and there is an even bigger backlog for the H200, which last quarter they said is still constrained. Demand for H200 and Blackwell is well ahead of supply. Expect demand may exceed supply well into next year. Blackwell in full production, and we are working to bring up our system and cloud partners for global availability later this year. Now, before continuing, I do want to add a couple of extra details here, some context for all of you AI lovers, data centers, etc., etc. This was a conversation between an expert and an analyst talking about building AI data centers. So one, he said here, 18 to 25% of a data center build in money-wise are cooling products. Why is that? Well, they said for cooling, air is 17 times less effective in removing heat than liquid. That's why we've seen SMCI, Dell all move towards liquid cooling. And this is, of course, just the start. They also said that going from cloud data center to an AI data center, they need about 40% more power. So yeah, it's great that everybody's buying those chips, building out those data centers, etc., etc. But eventually you would like the best chip, but the one that will also provide you with the least energy consumption. Moving to Meta's comment, well, Meta said that Llama 3 is already competitive with the most advanced models and they're already starting to work on Llama 4. The amount of compute needed to train Llama 4 will likely be almost 10 times more than what they used to train Llama 3, and future models will continue to grow beyond that. It's hard to predict how this trend or how this will trend multiple generations out into the future, but at this point, Zuck rather risk building capacity before it is needed rather than too late, given the long lead times for spinning out new inference projects. So again, if we're talking here about demand, there's still plenty of demand. Moving on to what was said in an analyst conference. So an analyst asked here, how's the outlook around Blackwell as we look at next year? How far is your visibility of growth into next year? To which Ian Buck answered here, so there's one question about how far forward we work with all of our, not just our biggest customers, but all those AI visionaries that are building those foundation models. And then what does the ramp look like in Blackwell specifically? So we stated recently in our earnings that Blackwell has now entered into production builds. So we started our production. He also said that the samples will go out this quarter and they're ramping for production out later this year. The challenge, of course, is with every new technology transition that comes, the value is so high, there's always a mix of a challenge of supply and demand. We've experienced this with Hopper, and there will always be similar kinds of supply-demand constraint in the on-ramp of Blackwell, certainly at the end of this year and going into next year. Another question, and this was in the earnings call. So, the first one, I wanted to drill a little bit into the Blackwell comment that is in full production now. What does that suggest with regards to shipment and delivery timing if that product doesn't sound like it's sampling anymore? To which Jensen here said, we've been in production for a little bit of time, but our production shipments will start in Q2 and ramp in Q3, and customers should have data centers stood up in Q4. So this year, will we see Blackwell revenue? To which Jensen said, we will see a lot of Blackwell revenue this year. This was 3 months ago, by the way. Then he continued, we started sampling the H200 in Q1 and are currently in production with shipments on track for Q2. The first H200 system was delivered by Jensen to Sam Altman and the team at OpenAI and powered their amazing GPT-4o demos last week. H200 nearly doubles the inference performance of H100, delivering significant value for production deployments. We see increasing demand of Hopper through this quarter, and we expect demand to outstrip supply for some time as we now transition to H200 and to Blackwell. So again, this was 3 months ago. Unless something bad happened really last minute, I don't think it will hit Nvidia as hard as people think. But that's again, unless these things really happen in the last minute, and Jensen here was just overly optimistic with his prediction. Why am I saying this? Well, because during SMCI's earnings call, we also got some information there. So an analyst asked here, there have been some reports recently about the delay of Blackwell from Nvidia. Just wondering if you can share your thoughts of how that would impact the conversion of the robust backlog or pipeline that you're looking at to revenue through the year. Charles here, CEO of SMCI, said, we heard Nvidia may have some delay, right? And we treat that as a normal possibility. When they introduce new technology, new product, there always have a chance to, there will always be a push out a little bit. In this case, it pushed out a little bit, but to us, I believe we have no problem to provide the customer with a new solution like H200 liquid cooling. So again, even if Blackwell is delayed a little bit, I think Nvidia has quite a lot of levers to pull in the short run to not get hit that hard. We've got some comments from some analysts as well. Rosenblatt maintains price target of $200. So Nvidia shares are under pressure due to continued rumors of a several-month delay in Blackwell GPUs due to an undisclosed silicon flaw. We have not confirmed any design flaws or timing issues with B100 in calendar Q4, B200 in Q1 of calendar 2025, or GB200 in Q2 of calendar 2025. Speculation has centered on the B200's delay from late 2024 into early 2025. Note that the B200 is a different platform and a higher performance part versus the B100. Our current model has always assumed that Nvidia would release the B200 in early 2025. We are comfortable with our Blackwell assumptions and the timing of the various SKU ramp for a current sampling of parts without any issues or delays. We then had JP Morgan saying that, well, the Nvidia Blackwell AI servers are expected to see an annual output of 500,000 units from Team Green, a decrease from the anticipated 600,000 units, so a difference of 100,000 units. The financial firm says design flaws are associated with this drop in figures and that Nvidia is currently conducting engineering design changes, a process that would also take more time and money. This might push the release of Blackwell's AI servers into the first quarter of 2025, which is around 4 months ahead of what was planned. As for a Bernstein analyst, they were saying there is uncertainty surrounding Blackwell and its design flaw, but given that Team Green plays a vital role amongst the top tech giants and that Nvidia's dominance is currently unchallenged, the delay won't have much of an effect. And if you needed some information about the Q2 outlook, so they expect revenue of $28 billion, gross margin a bit lower than Q1 and Q4, but remember Q1 and Q4 had some tailwinds, so don't be alarmed if it comes in a bit lower. Still, gross margin on a GAAP basis 74.8% and 75.5% non-GAAP. And by the way, when they released that guidance for Q2, which they will report at the end of August, they beat the market's expectations by around 5%. So yeah, you can buy Nvidia shares cheaper today. Of course, there will still be those headlines, right, after the earnings report. Whether or not it's a big impact or not remains to be seen. But if you want to increase your share count of Nvidia, I would say that yes, under $100 would be a good choice. Now, can it go lower? 100%. But remember, even if the delays are real, even if it's a delay of, let's say, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's it. It's 3 months. Don't you think that Nvidia has a pretty big backlog for all of the other products? And what happens after those 3 months? Business as usual, right? So yes, if you can get Nvidia at a cheaper price, in my opinion, it's, I would say, close to a no-brainer. Looking at the graph here before we end the video, the stock was very, very close at around $91, $92, very close to the 200-day moving average at $87.5. That's great to see it rebound. Of course, the whole market has rebounded a little bit as well, but it does seem like Nvidia will be staying around those areas until that earnings report. So if you can buy Nvidia on some weakness, that's definitely an option if you're a long-term investor. If you're looking for trades, then I can help you here. But Nvidia is still a great company. Will they have the same amount of market share that they have today 10 years from now? Probably not. Will they still be a great company? Probably yes, because Nvidia as a software, they are going to be quite a dominant player. And software, as we know, is a high margin business. So that's everything you need to know right now with regards to NVIDIA. Do share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, do all of that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.